Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning in to another Supatease video. And in this one, I will be covering my top 7 PvP specs for patch 10.1. Season 2 is about to begin, and it's a really good idea to start looking at what specializations are going to be able to deliver you success and possibly what types of compositions they could be working with and what kind of meta we are going to be looking at moving into this patch so that we can get those epic rewards right away. And of course, if you want to stay up to date with changes related to the game, educational and entertaining content, then do make sure to hit the subscribe button. Your support is greatly appreciated on my long-term goal of getting to 100,000 subscribers. So thank you, and let's get started. Coming in at the number 7 position might come as a bit of a surprise, but it is actually, in fact, the Feral Druid. This is a specialization that is going to see a lot more utilization of Cyclone with a new Honor talent, which will then provide your next 5th combo point Ferocious Bite or Rip to apply Feral Frenzy. So you're going to be going Cyclone crazy, I think, in 10.1 and getting monstrous amounts of burst as well as the previous strength that you had, which was just insane AoE damage. It's going to be putting Feral Druid in a really competitive position moving forward into 10.1 and looking to be like a lot of fun and a nice shift from where it was previously, which was kind of just a bleed bot and do damage. Now utilizing Cyclone to get more burst added into your rotation as well as utilizing crowd control should be an epic experience and definitely a specialization worth checking out. Coming in at the number 6 position is going to be the Arms Warrior, and this is a specialization that is just doing a skull-crushing amount of damage, specifically from Skull Crusher. It is insane how much burst damage this specialization is capable of pumping out, not to mention that percentage-based heals are still really powerful, and some of them weren't necessarily as scratched as other ones, and Ignore Pain and Victory Rush are going to be really powerful, sustaining effects for yourself on the Arms Warrior. You're also going to be getting Shockwave back. This is an AoE stun that had been previously lost to warriors, but it's getting buffed to a 3-second duration. So you're getting even more crowd control, more sustain, more durability, more burst, more everything, basically. I don't know how I didn't put it higher on the list, honestly, but Arms Warrior is a specialization that if you liked it last patch, you are really, really going to like it in 10.1. So definitely check it out. Same type of deal, much like with Feral Druid, I think sticking with a Hunter for Jungle Cleave, with the Warrior likely going to be a Rep Paladin, but you are a spec, I think, that can mingle a little bit with other specializations that are likely to be powerful in 10.1. Moving into the number 5 position, which is going to be the Enhancement Shaman. This is a specialization with the Doomwinds build, deeply rooted elements that is just doing an insane amount of damage, still has an insane amount of healing and disruption, and specifically Shamanism, the honor talent that allows you to use Bloodlust in PvP. Bloodlust used to cost like 20+% of your mana. You'd run out of mana in like 3 casts of it. Now you're not. It only costs 2% of your mana, so you can actually use Bloodlust and synergize it with a bunch of other classes to add a huge amount of burst damage to your team overall. So definitely a massive improvement. This spec was kind of slept on for season 1. I tried to make people notice it, but you guys all didn't really want to until like the very end, where people are like, wow, Enhanced Shaman's really good. It's like, yeah, I knew it was good this entire time, and it looks like it's probably going to be even better. You are also going to be getting Burrow to dig underground and potentially avoid attacks. You could use this to stop a go on yourself. I think it's likely going to be the best usage of it, but it does take up a valuable honor talent slot. So Burrow, unfortunately for Enhancement Shaman, it's probably going to be highly situational or really tough to fit in, but it is fun to pick up if you don't necessarily you don't necessarily care about competitive viability. You can go with the Burrow option, but Enhancement Shaman is definitely a smasher here for 10.1. The other major advantage of it is that it's really disruptive towards caster DPS, which is what I am expecting the meta to shift more towards here in 10.1. Number 4 is going to be the Beast Mastery Hunter. This specialization that just has raw damage, just absolutely undeniable, high, insane single target sustained damage. It's got to be the highest pressure in the game at the moment. So if you want a spec that's going to carry, you got to play a Beast Mastery Hunter. You're just going to be running people down with pressure. You got the advantages of being mobile, unlike Marksman, and you've got the advantages of being ranged, unlike Survival. This is easily the best Hunter spec. Probably limited on compositions. I think with Feral Druid likely going to be one of your best options, but also a sleeper composition could be Hunter Death Knight. Now, if we are shifting into Warlocks and Shadow Priests and Elemental Elemental Shamans, and Boomkins Oh My. Beast Mastery Hunter Unholy Death Knight could actually serve as an insane counter to that meta. So if you want to be one step ahead of where everybody's moving, I would highly suggest that you try that composition on day one. Unholy Death Knight, BM Hunter, and likely Resto Shaman to really make these casters suffer. That could be an absolute counter pick composition to what could be the impending meta. So definitely consider it. Definitely check it out. Just insane pressure overall. Number 3 on the list. We're getting into the top 3. These are the top dogs. These are the big honchos. We've got a Demon Hunter, and I think it's just after buff after buff after buff that Demon Hunters are starting to run the show, and it's also a melee that is kind of counter caster with leech healing, self-sustain, a lot of disruption. It's synergy with a lot of the high-ranking casters, and can also pair up with Death Knights to try and be an anti-caster. I think this specialization is actually going to just be destroying the ladder, whether it be 3v3 or solo shuffle. Just really well-rounded specialization overall. It's going to be doing so much damage. Specifically, that Boomkin Demon Hunter composition after this most recent round of changes is likely going to be very formidable. Maybe the best composition. There was actually a tournament from Admirals Esports this weekend, which I watched, where Boomkin Demon Hunter won the whole thing, along with a lot of these other specializations being highlighted quite a lot, which definitely helped me in forming this competitive list to try and figure out what our expectations are going to be. But after that recent round of changes, which I'll have linked after this video if you missed them, with massive buffs, Demon Hunter is going to be at the top of the list for sure. This is only number 3. We got 2 more here to go. We've got some honorable mentions as well, because 7 is honestly hard to fit everything that is so good in this patch, because there's so much that is so good. Number 2 is going to be the Balanced Druid. This is a specialization that's just doing monstrous amounts of damage. Cyclone is really powerful, and your off healing is surprisingly potent as well now. You will want to be utilizing regrowth, potentially rejuvenation and rejuve, but regrowth is a lot stronger, lower mana cost, higher output. You're definitely able to support a lot more within that hybrid role in this patch, which is very nice, and your overall damage is just in a great position. You're going to synergize effectively with Demon Hunter when it comes to rank 3v3, but in solo shuffle, this was the highest ranked specialization last patch for its cutoff, and it's because its synergy with all the other classes is so good, and Cyclone is just so powerful, if not even more powerful now in 10.1, given that every other crowd control is now maximum 6 seconds, the same as Cyclone. So Balanced Druid, it's looking like a spec that you're definitely going to want to check out. I'm going to be putting out guides for it here in the future, so definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button if you want to know what's going on with it, how to play with it. Yeah, and I'll be giving you guys good coverage of that specialization, but it is a monster. However, coming in at number 1, I think the specialization is slightly ahead of everything else, is going to be the Destruction Warlock. This specialization does, Affliction Warlock damage while being way more durable, tons of disruption, AoE Mortal Coils, and the Observer talent is going to be really key to this caster meta, where you summon an eyeball up in the air and it starts spitting out lasers at all these other casters. You're going to be the king caster controlling them with this Observer for sure as a Warlock. And particularly, it seems like Dark Pact got away with not really getting touched too much, as well as Soul Leech. So just Warlocks are just really tanky and hard to take down, and that's usually the number 1 condition to determine whether your specialization is going to be one of the best, if not the best, is your durability. And I think that's something that Destruction Warlock has over pretty much every other class in the game. It's going to synergize really well with everything else. It's an absolute monster, a wrecking ball. The start of this patch is the Destruction Warlock patch, no doubt. So definitely make sure that you're jumping on this bandwagon if you haven't yet, because this is one that is going to reward you quite handsomely. But that is it for the top 7. However, we do have some honorable mentions that I would like to discuss, and those being Shadow Priest, Elemental Shaman, and Resto Shaman. With the nerfs to Mistweaver Monk, it's my expectation that Resto Shaman could take the top position here. It's a lot harder to kill them with the stamina buffs to healers. They are really anti-caster, and if there's going to be a bunch of them, you're going to want a Resto Shaman. It's going to be in a really good position. Elemental Shaman, really not much to say. It just does insane damage. Really good caster, especially within a caster meta. And Shadow Priest has got a lot more hybrid utility. It's off healing, much like Balanced Druid has been buffed significantly. So you're going to be able to support a lot more, as well as its damage profile has shifted away from kind of that 30-second go window to just you have damage all the time. It's a much more satisfying experience to play, and it's going to be a lot more powerful to play as a result of that. So definitely honorable mentions here. Could easily have been on the top 7. but it was tough for me to squeeze everything into that list, but definitely worth discussing and noting here moving forward into patch 10.1. Other than that, I hope that this video has helped you in identifying which specializations you should be looking at, or possibly which ones you got to be worried about, and figure out how to deal with for the start of season 2. Other than that, thank you very much for watching my video, and I will see you in the next one.